Selain Louis Daguerre, pada 1834, kira-kira 5 tahun sebelum diproklamirkan daguerreotype, seorang Inggris bernama Henry Fox Talbot juga melakukan eksperimen yang sama. Talbot melakukan eksperimen fotografi menghasilkan gambar permanen seperti halnya Daguerre. Talbot mematenkan proses fotografi ini yang dikenal dengan nama calotype, berasal dari kalos yang artinya keindahan. Ia membuat proses gambar permanen di atas kertas dengan perak iodin. Hasilnya adalah gambar negatif. Gambar negatif ini lantas digunakan sebagai bahan yang diletakkan di atas kertas, disinari cahaya sehingga dihasilkan gambar positif di atasnya. Nah, kira-kira nama-nama seperti Louis Daguerre, Joseph Nipsey, Fox Talbot ini menjadi 3 tokoh sentral yang sering diperbincangkan ketika membicarakan mengenai sejarah fotografi. Proses calotype sendiri dapat teman-teman simak pada video yang akan saya tampilkan berikut ini.
This time around the 1830s is really when photography comes together.
Daguerre is in France making images with silver iodide on metal plates, and Talbot is working in England making images with silver chloride on paper. Working simultaneously in 2 different countries, not quite knowing about the other. But that changes when you start to have articles in the press. Now it's public. And so a rivalry begins. William Henry Fox Talbot is a gentleman scholar in England living in an old abbey in the village of Laycock.
He was a member of the House of Lords. He was a wealthy individual who had many, many interests.
Talbot is on his honeymoon in Lake Como in Italy, and he's trying to make drawings with a camera lucida. He's trying to do pencil sketches and realize that he has no skill whatsoever in drawing. He wants to make pictures within a camera obscura. All he has to do is find the material that he can put into the back of the camera to record the image.
Finally, when he returns home to Laycock Abbey, he starts doing experiments, and he is able to produce a photographic image.
Talbot is making images by using silver chloride in the production of making what he called photogenic drawings, which are essentially just coating paper with salt, coating paper with silver nitrate, and place a fern or objects on top of the paper, put a piece of glass on top of that, and lay it in the sunlight. It will darken. Up to that point, it's not so much different than what Wedgwood did. But Niepce and Wedgwood could not figure out a way to keep the drawings. What Talbot discovers is that if he takes that image and puts it into a stronger solution of salt water, all the areas that were not exposed to light, all the areas that didn't turn to metallic silver, become less sensitive. They are not removed completely, but he can show them to people in the house. You can see them by candlelight. This is the type of camera that Talbot used in his earliest experiments with photogenic drawing. Many of them are still around, and you can see them as long as you don't bring them out into too much light.
Usually when you see them, they're sort of under a piece of velvet. So it feels like this intimate experience of looking at a photograph in its first days. Now photography is so ubiquitous that we probably don't think about how special and magical that experience was.
Talbot is the first person to make a salted paper print. He actually invents something that's permanent. It's basically his photogenic drawing process that has been fixed with hypo. Sodium thiosulfate is the modern term. Its potential of removing silver halide is discovered by Sir John Herschel.
Salted paper prints, because of the way they are made, where the image material sinks into the paper, tend to have a less crisp look to them. There was sort of this dichotomy between the crisp, clean, almost three-dimensional quality of the daguerreotype and the softer, almost more granulated sensibility of the salted paper print. So that sort of got reduced to information versus artistry in the early years of photography's history.
Talbot improves the photogenic drawing process by switching from silver chloride to silver iodide, the same silver halide that Daguerre uses in his process. The latent image calotype process that he invents in 1840 allows him to make a little bit of an exposure. And then he develops out the invisible image to a visible image using gallic acid. And so now he can put this into a camera and actually do pictures of living human beings. He can then make photographic negatives, and after those negatives are fixed with hypo, he can then place those on top of a second sheet of sensitive paper, expose that to light, and now he makes a positive proof. So he has negative and positive. He essentially introduces the negative-positive potential for photography that becomes the standard of photography until the invention of digital photography. The rivalry between Daguerre and Talbot continues today. There are champions of Talbot and the champions of Daguerre. Both camps feel that their man invented photography. In fact, it's all photography, just a different type.
After Talbot figured out this negative-positive process, he wanted to show what photography could do. So his way to do that was to produce a series of publications called The Pencil of Nature. The Pencil of Nature contains text explaining Talbot's process. It contains salted paper prints, mostly showing Talbot's home at Laycock Abbey. And each of the photographs is meant to display one of the various uses of photography. Talbot's showing the reproducibility of the photograph, which really became one of the most important aspects of the medium.
Nah, dari eksperimen-eksperimen yang dilakukan oleh para ahli hingga kemudian diputuskan daguerreotype sebagai sebuah penemuan kamera pada masa itu, maka ketika kita membaca referensi mengenai sejarah fotografi, ada statement menarik dari seorang Patrick Maynard bahwa dia mengatakan seperti ini: fotografi lebih dipahami sebagai sebuah proses, langkah atau prosedur teknis ketimbang hasil dari foto itu sendiri. Selanjutnya dia menambahkan seperti ini, bahwa fotografi lebih mudah dipahami dari perspektif teknologisnya, yaitu prosedur atau langkah-langkah teknis dalam menghasilkan gambar. Ia bahkan menyatakan bahwa apa yang dipatenkan oleh para penemu fotografi seperti halnya Talbot maupun Daguerre bukanlah foto, tapi langkah-langkah atau prosedur dalam menghasilkan foto. Jadi secara teknikalnya. Dari sini pengumuman daguerreotype sebagai sebuah penemuan kamera pada masa itu mengejutkan banyak orang. Setidaknya ada kisaran 20-an ilmuwan, kalau tidak salah ingat sekitar 24 ilmuwan melayangkan protes atas klaim terhadap daguerreotype, karena di luar Louis Daguerre masih banyak sekali ilmuwan yang memiliki formulasi hampir mirip-mirip. Ada nama Hippolytus Bayard, pegawai kantor Kementerian Keuangan Prancis. Dia seorang penemu dan mengklaim penemuannya jauh sebelum daguerreotype diresmikan. Proses gambar yang dihasilkan oleh Bayard lebih sederhana dibandingkan proses Daguerre dan Lipsey. Saya coba bacakan. Kurang lebih apa yang dilakukan oleh Bayard ini lebih sederhana, namun hasil eksperimen tidak direspon oleh pemerintah Prancis, sehingga dia merasa putus asa dan melayangkan protesnya dalam bentuk komik pada waktu itu. Tentu saja unsur politis sangat mewarnai dalam penemuan-penemuan pada waktu itu, antara tarik-menarik kepentingan antar pihak di Prancis misalnya atau di Inggris antara Daguerre dan Talbot sangat penuh dengan kepentingan pada waktu itu. Ini berhubungan dengan bagaimana relasi sosial maupun relasi kuasa yang ada pada lingkungan pada masa itu. Setelah daguerreotype ditemukan, fotografi mengalami perkembangan yang cukup besar. Daguerreotype digunakan di beberapa penjuru dunia, entah untuk kebutuhan riset, dokumentasi, atau untuk kebutuhan persurat kabaran pada waktu itu. Selanjutnya, perkembangan teknologi fotografi ditandai dengan aplikasi gelatin untuk menggantikan plat kaca. Di tahun 1888, ketika George Eastman melalui perusahaan yang sangat terkenal, mungkin teman-teman ingat Kodak. Kodak, produk dari George Eastman ini menerapkan penggunaan roll kertas berlapis emulsi gelatin. Nah, disinilah cikal bakal munculnya kamera film. Jadi ketika dulu sebelum era kamera digital, kita ingat bahwa ketika kita memotret membutuhkan roll film. Roll film jadi perlu cuci cetak dan segala macam. Oke, saya kira untuk membicarakan sejarah fotografi akan sangat panjang, namun apa yang saya sampaikan ini setidaknya bisa menjadi pijakan kita bersama dalam membuka diskusi yang lebih luas lagi, yang lebih mendalam lagi. Nanti selanjutnya, di video selanjutnya, saya ingin coba berbagi perspektif, berbagi materi mengenai masuknya fotografi ke Hindia Belanda. Tadi kita ingat bahwa daguerreotype diresmikan pada 1839, tidak lama setelah daguerreotype diresmikan, dia dibawa ke Hindia Belanda. Nanti seperti apa? Nanti kita akan diskusikan bersama. Oke, sampai jumpa di video selanjutnya.